Have you ever stopped to think about why some stories stand the test of time, intriguing generations with their enigmas and hidden meanings? Among the most fascinating legends of Greek mythology, there is a creature that embodies fear, mystery, and tragedy, the Minotaur. Half man, half bull, this figure inhabits the Labyrinth of Crete and is the center of a narrative full of betrayal, heroism, and sacrifice. But what do we really know about him? Why was it created? What was the purpose of the terrible labyrinth? And more importantly, what can this story teach us about the human condition, our fears, and our choices? In this video, you'll discover much more than just an ancient legend. Let's explore the secrets behind the Minotaur, from his tragic origins to his connection to Greece's most iconic heroes. Get ready to immerse yourself in one of the greatest mysteries of Greek mythology, where every detail carries a deep meaning. The story of the Minotaur begins with a plot of divine betrayal and human ambition. It all starts with Minos, the king of Crete, who wanted to prove his supremacy and the right to the throne. To do so, he asked the god of the seas, Poseidon, for help. In response, Poseidon sent a magnificent white bull as a symbol of his blessing. The agreement was simple. Minos was to sacrifice the animal in honor of the god. However, fascinated by the beauty and power of the bull, Minos decided to keep it alive, replacing it with another animal in the sacrifice. This act of disobedience infuriated Poseidon. As punishment, the god placed a terrible curse on Minos' wife, Pasiphae. She was condemned to feel an uncontrollable attraction to the white bull. Consumed by this desire, Pasiphae sought out Daedalus, the legendary craftsman and inventor, to help her. He built an ingenious structure in the shape of a hollow cow where Pasiphae could hide. The result of this union was the birth of the Minotaur, a hybrid creature with the body of a man and the head of a bull. The arrival of the Minotaur was a shock to the kingdom of Crete. Minos, horrified by the monstrosity that had been born under his roof, again sought the services of Daedalus to create a place where he could hide the creature. Thus, the famous labyrinth emerged. This labyrinthine construction was so complex that once inside, no one could find the way out. The birth of the Minotaur carries profound symbolism. It represents the inevitable consequences of human arrogance and the breaking of promises made to the gods. In addition, its existence highlights themes such as the fight against one's own internal monsters, whether they are the result of wrong choices or uncontrollable external forces. The Minotaur is also a reflection of human ambiguity. He is both victim and executioner. Raised against his will and isolated in a labyrinth, he is not only a threat, but also a being condemned to eternal loneliness. This duality sets the stage for the narrative full of tragedy and heroism that unfolds from here. The curse that marked Minos' reign was not limited to the birth of the Minotaur. It stretched out as a constant reminder of the power and wrath of the gods. After the creation of the labyrinth and the isolation of the Minotaur, Crete faced years of suffering and humiliation. It all started with a tragic event. Minos' son Androgeus was sent to Athens to participate in sporting competitions. However, his superior performance generated envy among the Athenians, leading to his untimely death. Enraged, Minos declared war on Athens, winning the battle with the support of the gods. As punishment, Athens was forced to send 7 young men and 7 young women to Crete every 9 years to be sacrificed to the Minotaur. This requirement reinforced Cretans' power and perpetuated fear among Athenians. Minos' curse, however, did not bring glory to the king. He was condemned to live under the weight of guilt, even as his kingdom became dependent on the threat of the Minotaur to maintain its dominant position. The curse also eroded trust among the people and royalty. The labyrinth, instead of being a symbol of protection, became a place of terror and anguish. With each new cycle of sacrifices, cries of despair echoed through the walls of Crete, and the labyrinth, initially created to hide the king's shame, became a symbol of his moral failure. In addition, Minos' curse highlights an important point in Greek mythology, the notion of hybris, or excessive arrogance, before the gods. Minos believed he could fool Poseidon without consequence, but his disobedience ultimately destroyed not only his peace, but also the harmony of his kingdom. The curse is also a reminder that actions have repercussions that transcend initial intentions. Minos wanted to protect his reputation, but he ended up creating a cycle of tragedies that would culminate in his ruin. This lesson resonates to this day, teaching that arrogance and denial of responsibility can lead to devastating consequences. The Cretan labyrinth is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating elements of the Minotaur story. Conceived by Daedalus, the most talented craftsman of ancient Greece, the labyrinth was not just an architectural structure, he was a masterpiece of human ingenuity and symbolic complexity. Daedalus created the labyrinth at the behest of Minos, with the aim of hiding the Minotaur from everyone, protecting both the creature and the kingdom from embarrassment. The construction was so intricate that even Daedalus himself could barely find his way back once he entered. Formed by winding corridors, unpredictable curves, and seemingly identical walls, the labyrinth was designed to be inescapable. Whoever entered it became a victim, not only of the Minotaur, but also of his own confusion and despair. In mythology, the labyrinth takes on a meaning that goes beyond its practical function. It symbolizes the complexity of the human mind, the ethical dilemmas, and the challenges we face in our own lives. Entering the labyrinth is like facing one's fears and struggling to find clarity in the midst of chaos. Over the years, the labyrinth has become something of a universal metaphor. It appears in several stories and traditions as a symbol of the hero's journey, a place where tests and challenges are faced, and eventually enlightenment is achieved. For Crete, the labyrinth was more than a hiding place for the Minotaur. He represented the power of the kingdom, the ingenuity of its inhabitants, and the oppressive force of its leadership. However, the labyrinth was also a prison, both for the Minotaur and for those doomed to face the creature. This duality makes it one of the most intriguing and symbolic elements of the legend. Daedalus, the creator of the labyrinth, is a central figure in the story of the Minotaur. More than just an architect, he is a symbol of human ingenuity and the unpredictable consequences that come with playing with forces beyond control. Before building the labyrinth, Daedalus was already known for his genius. He invented complex mechanisms, created incredibly realistic sculptures, and developed solutions to seemingly impossible problems. When Pasiphae sought him out for help, Daedalus used his skill to build the hollow cow that allowed the birth of the Minotaur. This action marked a critical point in his life. Despite having acted on orders, he became complicit in the creation of the monster. His technical skill, which was supposed to serve good, was diverted to meet distorted desires and questionable decisions. When Minos ordered Daedalus to build the labyrinth, the craftsman exceeded all expectations. He designed a structure so perfect that it seemed to defy logic. However, this feat came at a price. After building the labyrinth, Daedalus and his son Icarus were imprisoned by Minos, fearing that the inventor would reveal the secrets of construction to other kingdoms. Daedalus and Icarus's escape from prison using wings made of wax and feathers is a separate story, but it is closely linked to the legend of the Minotaur. It reinforces the theme of moral ambiguity. Daedalus was a genius, but his inventions led him to be used by powerful people and to suffer the consequences of his own actions. Daedalus is, in many ways, the archetype of the tragic creator. His intentions, as noble as they may have been, resulted in tragedies that shaped the fate of Crete. It is a reminder that even the greatest talents can be corrupted or manipulated by external circumstances. The human sacrifices sent to the Minotaur are undoubtedly one of the darkest parts of the legend. After Minos's victory over Athens, a cruel demand was imposed on the defeated kingdom. Every 9 years, 7 young men and 7 young women were sent as tribute to the Minotaur. These victims were taken to the labyrinth, where they met a tragic fate, serving as food for the creature. The practice of sacrifices was not only a demonstration of Crete's power over Athens, but also a way to sustain the myth of the Minotaur as an insurmountable threat. For Minos, this tradition kept fear alive and secured his position as supreme ruler. However, it also symbolized the strained relationship between humanity and divinity in Greek mythology. The sacrificed young men were chosen by lot, which created an atmosphere of panic among Athenian families. This aspect of the legend reflects the cruelty of fate and the feeling of powerlessness in the face of greater forces. In many ways, the sacrifices represent the inevitable losses in times of war, and the innocent lives that are often destroyed as a result of the pride or ambition of powerful leaders. The practice of sacrifices also serves as a turning point in history. It was this brutal demand that motivated Theseus, Prince of Athens, to volunteer to face the Minotaur. Sacrifice, therefore, is not only an act of destruction, but also an opportunity for redemption and heroism. Culturally, human sacrifices evoke the primal fear of the unknown and the desire to find explanations or solutions to incomprehensible forces. Although they are fictional elements of the legend, they echo real practices of ancient civilizations, which saw sacrifices as a way to placate the gods or ensure the protection of the community. Theseus's arrival in Crete marks the beginning of one of the most heroic journeys in Greek mythology. The son of King Aegeus of Athens, Theseus was known for his bravery and determination. When the time came to send another group of young people to the sacrifice, he volunteered, intending to kill the Minotaur and put an end to the cycle of tragedies. Theseus's decision was not motivated only by courage. He knew that Athens' survival was at stake, and that defeating the Minotaur meant freeing his people from decades of humiliation and fear. Before leaving, Theseus promised his father that if he succeeded, he would return with white sails on his ship to signal his victory. Upon arriving in Crete, Theseus caught the attention of Ariadne, daughter of King Minos. Enchanted by the courage and beauty of the young hero, Ariadne decided to help him in his mission. She sought out Daedalus, the creator of the Labyrinth, and obtained a crucial secret: the use of a magic thread to mark the path inside the building. Theseus prepared to enter the labyrinth with determination, but also with the awareness that he was facing one of the most feared creatures in mythology. The hero's arrival represents more than an act of individual bravery. It is a symbol of hope for Athenians and a reminder that even the greatest challenges can be overcome with intelligence, courage, and strategic support. This moment in the story also introduces an element of romance and alliance between Theseus and Ariadne, highlighting the role of human relationships in overcoming adversity. Although the focus is on the fight against the Minotaur, the arrival of Theseus is a pivotal point that connects courage, sacrifice, and love in a rich and multifaceted narrative. The figure of Ariadne is fundamental in the legend of the Minotaur. Without his intervention, Theseus would hardly have been able to defeat the creature and escape the labyrinth. Daughter of Minos and Pasiphae, Ariadne grew up in the opulence of the Palace of Crete, but she was also a witness to the tragedies caused by the Minotaur and her father's tyranny. When she saw Theseus, something changed in her. Moved by compassion or an immediate passion, Ariadne decided to help him. She knew that the labyrinth was a deadly prison and that no one had ever made it out alive. To ensure Theseus's success, Ariadne sought out Daedalus, the creator of the labyrinth, and obtained an ingenious solution: a simple thread. The idea was surprisingly effective. Before entering the labyrinth, Theseus was to tie one end of the thread at the entrance and unwind it as he went. That way he could find his way back after facing the Minotaur. This Ariadne's thread has become a powerful symbol of intelligence, planning, and support in times of crisis. Ariadne's gesture was not only an act of help, but also of courage. By betraying her father and his kingdom, she risked everything for Theseus. This decision illustrates the transformative power of love and trust, but it also raises questions about loyalty and the choices we make on behalf of our feelings. The magic wire is more than a practical tool. It represents the connection between the characters, the collaboration, and the ability to overcome seemingly impossible challenges. To this day, the expression Ariadne's thread is used to describe creative solutions and strategies to solve complex problems. The battle between Theseus and the Minotaur is the climax of the legend, a confrontation that symbolizes the struggle between good and evil, courage and fear. Armed with a sword, his wits, and Ariadne's magical thread, Theseus entered the labyrinth determined to confront the fearsome creature. The Minotaur, half man and half bull, was a terrifying sight. Despite his monstrous appearance, he was also a victim of circumstance, doomed to an existence of loneliness and violence. This duality makes the confrontation all the more meaningful, as Theseus was not only facing a physical enemy, but also a symbol of the wrong choices and mistakes of the past. The battle itself is often described as intense and brutal. Theseus had to use both his strength and his agility to overcome the creature, which was much larger and more powerful than him. The combat became a test of endurance and strategy, in which Theseus managed to overcome the Minotaur with precise blows and his unwavering determination. The moment when the Minotaur is defeated is both triumphant and tragic. On the one hand, Theseus frees Athens from the cycle of sacrifices and puts an end to Crete's reign of terror. On the other hand, the creature's death marks the end of a life that, although monstrous, was also a reflection of the human and divine failures that led to its existence. The battle with the Minotaur encapsulates the heart of the narrative, facing one's fears, overcoming challenges, and triumphing courage over adversity. It's a reminder that even the most feared monsters can be defeated with strategy, determination, and support. After defeating the Minotaur and escaping the labyrinth with the help of Ariadne's thread, Theseus faced another challenge: returning home. The return would not only be a physical journey, but also an emotional and political one, as his victory would mark a shift in the balance of power between Athens and Crete. Upon exiting the labyrinth, Theseus fled Crete, accompanied by Ariadne and the rescued young Athenians. Together, they boarded a ship bound for Athens. During the trip, however, an unexpected episode drastically changed the course of the story. Upon reaching the island of Naxos, Theseus abandoned Ariadne. There are several versions of this abandonment, but all agree that it was a moment of rupture. Some stories suggest that Theseus was instructed by the gods to leave Ariadne, as her fate was tied to Dionysus, the god of wine, who would later marry her. Other versions portray Theseus as ungrateful, abandoning Ariadne despite the help she gave him. This ambiguity in Theseus's behavior raises questions about the hero's morality and the complexity of human relationships. After leaving Ariadne, Theseus continued his journey to Athens. However, he made a tragic mistake. He forgot to change the sails of the ship as he had promised his father. When King Aegeus saw the black sails on the horizon, he believed his son was dead and in desperation threw himself into the sea. This episode gave rise to the name of the Aegean Sea. The return of Theseus is therefore a moment of victory and tragedy. Although he saved Athens, his negligence and losses along the way show that even heroes are subject to human failure. This duality makes the return of Theseus a key part of the narrative, filled with lessons about responsibility, sacrifice, and the consequences of our actions. Ariadne's abandonment on the island of Naxos is one of the most intriguing and discussed moments in the legend of the Minotaur. After helping Theseus defeat the creature and escape Crete, Ariadne hoped to start a new life alongside the hero she loved. However, his fate took an unexpected turn. Ariadne's downfall can be interpreted in several ways. In some versions, she is portrayed as a victim of Theseus's selfishness, which left her alone and vulnerable. This abandonment is often seen as a betrayal, especially considering all that Ariadne risked to help him. His fall in this context symbolizes the ingratitude and fragility of human bonds. On the other hand, some versions of the story offer a more optimistic outlook. In many of them, Dionysus, the god of wine and celebration, meets Ariadne on Naxos and makes her his wife. This union elevates Ariadne to the status of a goddess and transforms her into a figure of rebirth and transformation. His fall, in this sense, is not an end, but a new beginning. Ariadne's story also carries deep symbolism. It represents the transition between the mortal and the divine, between tragedy and redemption. Their journey reflects the human ability to find new paths even after moments of loss and disillusionment. The fall of Ariadne invites us to reflect on the role of choices and sacrifices in our lives. It is a reminder that even those who help the heroes do not always receive the recognition they deserve, but it also shows that new destinies can arise from seemingly hopeless situations. The labyrinth is much more than a simple setting in the story of the Minotaur. It is a powerful metaphor that crosses generations, symbolizing challenges, mysteries, and the search for self-knowledge. In legend, it was designed to be an inescapable prison, a place of chaos where logic seemed to be lost. However, when analyzing the symbolism of the labyrinth, we realize that it represents something much bigger. First, the labyrinth is a reflection of the human mind. Its confusing corridors and dead-end paths refer to the complexity of the thoughts, fears, and dilemmas we all face in our lives. Just as the characters in the story had to find a way through the maze, we also face moments when we feel lost, looking for answers and trying to overcome our own monsters. In addition, the labyrinth is a symbol of the hero's journey. Entering the labyrinth is like facing life's trials, confronting the challenges that shape us, and emerging stronger. In Theseus's case, the labyrinth was not just a physical space, but a test of his courage, intelligence, and determination. He had to rely on his own ability and Ariadne's thread to overcome obstacles and achieve victory. Culturally, the labyrinth also carries spiritual meanings. In many traditions, it is seen as a path of introspection, where the traveler must face his shadows before finding the light. This interpretation reinforces the idea that the labyrinth is not only a place of imprisonment, but also of transformation and growth. Finally, the labyrinth is a reminder that even the most impressive human creations can be used for good or evil. It was built by Daedalus as a solution to a problem, but it eventually became a symbol of oppression and fear. This duality reflects the choices we make and the consequences they bring. Although the Minotaur has its roots in Greek mythology, its influence has transcended the centuries, becoming a recurring figure in art, literature, and popular culture. He has gone from being just a monstrous creature to transforming into a multifaceted symbol that resonates with humanity's challenges and conflicts. In literature, the Minotaur often appears as an archetype of the other, representing that which is unknown, feared, or misunderstood. Modern works explore his condition as a victim, questioning whether he was really a monster or just a creature who suffered the consequences of the choices of others. This approach humanizes the Minotaur and invites the audience to reflect on issues such as prejudice, isolation, and identity. In cinema, the Minotaur is a powerful figure who often symbolizes the internal challenges faced by the characters. Fantasy adventure films often use the labyrinth and the Minotaur as visual metaphors for the protagonist's internal and external conflicts. In addition, the Minotaur is also found in games, series, and comics. He appears as a formidable villain or as a tragic being, depending on the approach. This versatility is a testament to how the legend continues to inspire and reinvent itself in different cultural contexts. In the field of art, the Minotaur is a recurring theme in paintings, sculptures, and performances. Many artists use his figure to explore philosophical and existential questions, such as the struggle between instinct and reason, or the search for meaning in a chaotic world. This continued presence in modern culture proves that the Minotaur is more than an ancient legend. It is a timeless symbol that connects us to our fears, hopes, and universal challenges. Its history, full of nuances and meanings, remains relevant, offering lessons and inspirations for current and future generations. The legend of the Minotaur is more than a fascinating tale about monsters and heroes. It is a narrative rich in symbolism and lessons that remain relevant to this day. Behind the corridors of the labyrinth and the towering figure of the Minotaur, there are universal themes that explore the complexities of the human condition, the challenges of morality, and the consequences of our choices. One of the most striking reflections of the legend is the concept of responsibility. Every character in the story, from Minos to Theseus, faces the consequences of their actions. Minos, by disobeying Poseidon, creates a cycle of tragedies that affects not only his family, but his entire kingdom. Daedalus, with his genius, designs the labyrinth, but also becomes a prisoner of his own creations. Even Theseus, the victorious hero, makes mistakes that result in personal and collective losses. Another important point is the fight against the monsters themselves. The Minotaur can be seen as a representation of inner fears, of the parts of ourselves that we avoid confronting. Theseus' journey through the labyrinth reflects the search for self-knowledge and the need to face what haunts us in order to achieve freedom. The legend also invites us to question what defines a hero or a villain. The Minotaur, though monstrous, is also a victim of the circumstances and decisions of others. Theseus, despite his heroism, demonstrates human flaws that make him more complex and less idealized. This moral ambiguity is a reminder that life is rarely divided into black and white. Finally, the history of the Minotaur highlights the role of support and cooperation. Ariadne's thread, though simple, is essential to Theseus's success. This collaboration between the characters shows that even the biggest challenges can be overcome when working together. Reflecting on the legend of the Minotaur helps us understand our own lives. Like the characters, we face dilemmas, seek redemption, and try to find our way through labyrinths, both physical and emotional. In the end, the legend reminds us that no matter how lost we may feel, there is always a thread that can guide us back to the light.